today, what we're going to cover is we're going to talk about these wide receivers you're still into, where you know the risk, but you don't care. You're bullish on these guys. You're like, guess what? Maybe he's got competition. Maybe he's a rookie. I don't care. I like this guy, and I'm going to tell you why we're drafting them today on the FFU. So stick with us as we join the FFU. And I cannot find the freaking intro. There it is. There we go, folks. As you can tell, we're all over the place. We are ready to go. I was like, wait, I need the intro. I don't have it. This is good stuff. Today, I got Jeremy on one side. I have Aaron on the other. We are completely rolling through talking about these wide receivers. How you guys doing today?
Well, shit, I could have done that. Fuck.
Oh, goodness. Good stuff.
Off to a flying start, of course. Yeah, feeling good. Ready to talk wide receivers because we don't have to talk running backs. So any day we don't have to talk running backs is a good day for me.
We're sober. Can you imagine how much this show would go off the rails if we started doing bong rips like Jack?
I'm out.
We can barely get through it now.
20 minutes. I'm just going to fall asleep in the corner. We're doing those.
We're staring at the screen.
You're like, where's this guy? I can't play the video. Yeah. This is, as you can tell, we all the time we go off the rails, so you should not expect anything less from a random Monday show, which I took me a second to realize it was Monday. That's where I'm at with my brain.
If we started drinking or doing bong rips before the show like some of the other guys, how many shows, what's the over-under on how many shows before we got to a show where we did the entire one only to realize we never recorded and we were just talking to ourselves in the green room? But 3 shows, maybe 2?
Yeah.
All right, we're off to a great start. Don't mind us, we're only mildly retarded. All right, well, what are we talking about today? I forgot the topic already, and I haven't even done any
risky ass wide receivers. So all right, these are the wide receivers we are targeting at ADP that we know the risk, but we're still in on them, even though the community might be a little bit down on them for whatever reason. Maybe it's age, maybe it's rookies, maybe they have competition, maybe their quarterback sucks, maybe it's all the above, and we still like these guys. So I know, Jeremy, you said you had a wide receiver in particular you were leaning towards, so why don't you kick us? I'm out of here. All right, Jeremy, just take it. I'm out.
What the hell just happened?
Oh, shit. I don't know. Let's move on. So my understanding was a little different, but I can tweak it here as well. We're going to talk about Jayden Reed, half PPR wide receiver number 23 last season on the Green Bay Packers. He's a guy that I am finding myself drafting at cost. I know he's the first Packers wide receiver off the board. I think Christian Watson is hovering right there as well in redraft. He's sometimes a little bit above, sometimes a little bit below. It's those two guys. And I know the community is also saying that, Romeo Doubs super late or Dontavian Wicks is that late round darling that everyone seems to think can pop off in Green Bay. The fact is we don't know. And it's risky to kind of pay up, even though it's not that big of a cost, right? I think for the wide receiver 23 in 2023, Jayden Reed is the ECR wide receiver 32, did we say, Aaron? 34. He's in the low 30s.
34.
So you're getting the discount baked in already on Jayden Reed. And the nice thing about Reed is he's kind of that consistent intermediate to short area of the field target. I know we have Josh Jacobs in town, but that really doesn't make much of a difference to me from Aaron Jones when healthy last season. And certainly Marshawn Lloyd isn't going to be getting a ton of run early, right? So I don't think we have much of a threat out of the backfield for touches to compete with Reed. And I'm not seeing much of a threat in his tight end room either. I think those guys are serviceable. Kraft out for a while now with the injury. But for me, Jayden Reed is worth the cost. He's the PPR guy who's going to soak up the targets. I'm not sure that Christian Watson is ever going to have, parity in his hamstrings, equal hamstring, equality there. And then when you're talking about Doubs or Wicks, Reed is just a better talent for me. So for me, the cost is already depressed. He's a risk that he might not pay off, but I'm still happy to take him as the first Packers wide receiver off the board and my wide receiver 2, ideally wide receiver 3.
I get it. I think the way I look at it is always been a Christian Watson guy, and it's those like you talk about the parody of his hamstrings. They're very much a parody of themselves because they can't stay healthy, right? So if he's ever able to stay healthy, I think he's the most just like dynamic individual they have in the offense. But we saw what Reed did. He's similar to Watson. He also gets some like screens, some stuff behind line of scrimmage. They do some run work with him as well too. So I think there's multiple outs as ADP because it's like pick 64. It's not you're not spending a premium pick on him, and we want the guys connected to Jordan Love because he wants quarterbacks in the NFL, right? So give me a lot of those wide receivers. I like him and Watson, or if you want to go super late with Wicks, like the one guy I don't want is Dobbs. Like I don't want to touch that dude because I feel like he's just absolutely capped. So yeah, I like Reed at cost. But personally, between the two of them, I would go Watson. But I get it, man. It's uncertainty. So this is like what we're doing. I'll fall down board with that. I think he's a good pick at cost personally.
Damn it! Do I have to agree with Jeremy on this one? Fuck. I hate when this happens, but I can't do it. That's what we started with Watson. That well, you know, if he ever stays healthy, he's great. Well, he never stays healthy, so what's the fucking point? He's never healthy. Give me the guy who's going to play the games. He's got the best chance of being the alpha in the offense. Romeo Dobbs always seems like a beta to me, so for me, I'm 100% Jayden Reed. I know all three of them. Where did I have my ADP here? I feel like they all go in the same range of my drafts. Typically, Reed's the first or like the earliest. And then Watson is at 44 and Dobbs goes at 52. So they're all in the same few round range here. But I think for me, it's Reed by a mile. He's the healthiest and has by far the highest upside. So I'm all about Reed. Who do you got? Who do we got next, Jesse?
All right, let's jump into the Texans wide receivers because it feels like chaos. I'm gonna talk about Nico. Like he's the alpha in that room. I know people will say like Diggs because he has a name cachet, but man, Diggs regressed and he saw a career high in slot percentages last year, above what both Nico and Dell. If you combine their totals, they were not near what Diggs was doing last year, and that's part of the offense. But still, I get it. I think the way I look at it is I want elite wide receivers attached to elite quarterbacks, and that's Stroud and that's Nico Collins, and they check it. I get it. There's competition, but like. In situations like this, if he was in another, like without one of those guys, I think he's wide receiver. He'd be like wide receiver 4, really high, like super high in ADP. So the way I'm like, I'm just going to invest in him because all the metrics tell us he's incredible. And then we get Matt Harvard on top of it that tells us this guy's like one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. So when you hit all those check marks, I get it. Like I have Nico as my wide receiver 10. I'm significantly above consensus on him, but I'm okay drafting him in spots. The nice thing about it is I don't have to draft him there. I can like wait a little bit and still get him. But if some places with other guys, like you just reach up and get them. So personally, of the 3 wide receivers, it's like I want Nico or I want to wait whoever falls between Diggs and Dell. Whoever falls, it's usually Dell. I want the early guy or the later guy in that room. I don't want the tight end. Like I'm sorry, Dalton Schultz. Like it's just not happening for you. So for me, it's Nico Collins season, and I'm all aboard the hype train. Maybe I'll be looking back in 6 months and like, yeah, I fell victim to it, but I'm all in at cost. How are you, Aaron? Why don't you tell me where you're at with these guys? Is like Nico, you're someone you're targeting, or are you targeting?
What the hell's going on? I did a show last night with Jack, and we agreed on everything. Now we're 2 players in, and I agree with. Wait, I'm supposed to be the asshole. How are you guys gonna make me turn heel here if I agree with you on everything? Fuck. Nico's my one in this one. I'm avoiding Diggs because I think it's. I don't know if he has anything left. I think he has a little left, but he worries me. I think Nico's the one here. Nico's the one I'm taking. They're another one where I'm trying to find them here in the ADP. So we've got Diggs at 8, wide receiver 18, Nico at 23, and Tank Dell is down at 28. So what's that? What did I say? 18. So they're all going within 10 wide receiver slots of each other. Okay, ADP wise, I know you said you wanted the first one or the last one. I'm taking the middle one because I think Nico's the best one, and he's going cheaper than Diggs. Right now, Diggs is the one I want least, and he's going the earliest of the 3. I know that's not what you meant. I just meant that's how I was looking at it. So I want Nico, who I have as the best and is the cheapest. Second would be Dell, who is the cheapest and my second. And like I said, Diggs is the most expensive and the one I want the least. So even in redraft, I'm out on Diggs.
Yeah, I'm looking at half PPR for Texans, the wide receivers. Like Nico goes around above Diggs, and then Diggs goes like around half above Dell. So I'm not sure which one.
Let me look. I may have it on. What did we say? I'm on half PPR ECR for Fantasy Pros.
Oh, really? So the ECR ranks above? What? Wow.
ECR has Diggs at 18. Yep.
That's wild. Oh, okay. So ADP is drastically different compared to what ECR is telling us. Like, I'm with the masses, I guess, as opposed to the rankings experts, because when I'm looking at ADP, Nico's pick 19. He's wide receiver 13. And then Stephon Diggs he's wide receiver 20, pick 33. Tank Dell is wide receiver 29, pick 56. So, like, that's kind of how I was going off of it. But, yeah, like, I just want Nico. Like, let me be clear. I just want Nico in that room. That's the guy I want. And then if I can't get him, give me Tank Dell.
I love the discount that you're getting on Tank Dell, so I'm going to disagree a little bit here. I love Nico for Dynasty. I don't think it's going to be really his year this year. I think he's going to be overdrafted, but I still think he's probably the number one target. This is the risk, right? Like Stephon Diggs, I don't think he's cooked, but at the same time, I don't think he's guaranteed to step in and be the one here. It's probably going to fluctuate weekly between these three wide receivers. I mean, let's remember that Tank Dell in 10 games had 4 wide receiver 1 finishes. And I think he had another game where he almost caught 2 touchdowns. I think he finished with 5 touchdowns in 10 games, ridiculous. And a couple of 150-yard games are close to them. Let's not forget that Noah Brown had 2 games in a row of back-to-back wide receiver 1 finishes. 153 and 172 yards. The point is CJ Stroud can support more than one guy. And I think that's what we need to remember here. I think that guy guaranteed is going to be Nico Collins, and then it's going to be, well, is it Stephon Diggs or is it Tank Dell? So I like the Nico call from the standpoint of he's probably going to be the more consistent guy. I think the talent is there, but Tank Dell is CJ Stroud's guy. Right. And so I'm really not going to put it past CJ Stroud to just continue to pepper this guy with targets. That's all we've ever seen out of the Stroud-Dell connection. And I don't think that goes away simply because Stroud broke his leg. He's going to come back 100% healthy. That connection's still going to be there. So I prefer Dell at cost, but I don't hate the Nico pick, but it's Dell for me if I'm picking between the 3.
Yeah. I like both of them for sure.
I guess that brings it to me, and I chose Cooper Kupp. He is going, where the hell is he going? Okay, so we got Puka going at wide receiver 8, which is, I get it, really high based on where what he did last year. Kupp is going at 25, and for me, the argument is just that I think Kupp is probably a little better than we're grading him. I think Nakua's not as good. Like, the majority of this was with Kupp missing, 6-7 games last year. So I think Puka Nacua is still pretty good, but I think we're discounting just how great Kupp was when he was on the field. So I think these two are going to finish closer to 1A and 1B. And right now it's graded out as a 1 and a 2, and I don't think that's the case. So that's why I am higher on Kupp. What do you guys think?
I struggled with Kupp a lot. Oh, no, go ahead, Jeremy.
I was just going to say, I totally agree with you. And so Jesse will be the guy who dissents here. But I totally agree with you. Puka is the darling. We saw what he did last year, historic as a rookie. So you can't take anything away from him. At the same time, I think Cooper Kupp is the veteran. He occupies that role. He eats breakfast, lunch, and dinner and sleeps over Matt Stafford's house nightly, so much so that Stafford's wife goes on a podcast and trashes him, I guess. But Cooper Kupp really is Matt Stafford's guy. And I think Puka occupied the Cooper Kupp role last year, right? We talked about that. The way that they play is maybe a little bit different. But I do like how Cooper Kupp, when fully healthy, is out there commanding targets and, I think he's the better receiver. Like Aaron said, the issue for me is age, right? He hasn't been healthy in 2 seasons now. He missed half the season in both years. I'm not an injury prone guy. I don't think just because he's older and he's missed half the last 2 seasons that he's guaranteed to get injured. So I'm going into this as if everyone's healthy. And I think if they're healthy, I agree with Aaron, maybe Puka out targets Cooper Kupp when both are healthy. All right. But at the same time, Kupp would be the 1B there. Matt Stafford's going to support both of them. So Kupp is, borderline top 12 wide receiver, top, 20 is a lock, I think.
The only thing that you lost me on early there is I live near Detroit, so I get all the sports radio. Kelly Stafford is a fucking whack job. Let's not listen to anything Kelly Stafford ever has to say. Yeah, have you heard the story? Go on Twitter and look up her and the Georgia backup quarterback. If you need to know.
Yeah,
that's
why that was my reference. That was my reference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you think?
There was a quarterback last name Cox that everyone's making a joke about. I was like, that's the wrong one, but yeah, it's even better if that was his actual last name. I like Kupp a lot. I think he's a good wide receiver. I struggle to see like him hitting the true upside, and that's what I'm chasing in that range. So I have him at wide receiver 26. I'm a little bit lower than consensus, but like obviously we saw last year when he was there, he was just right behind Puka in like what he was doing for targets per route run and all that fun stuff. He's still a good wide receiver. I think the injury cost with the age is kind of is where it's like now that I'm pretty convinced Puka is going to be the guy because he did it year one as a rookie. Like I expect him to take another jump forward. So I think it's just like he's like a high, like more than likely a wide receiver 2 on the offense. But like we've seen this with Stafford, like he's a freaking wide receiver maker. He does this. Him and Cousins are the two like old school guys, similar to Brady in the past. They don't scramble. So what that means is you get targets to the important guys in the offense. So I think Kupp could be for sure like a top 20 wide receiver. That would not shock me. It's just in that range of players, I chase upside, and I struggle to find the upside for Kupp in the offense. Like that's my biggest issue with him. If he hits it, like I could like certainly be wrong. Like he could come back to the guy he was a couple years ago. I just think it's asking a lot when we do it with these guys. Similar when people are hyping up Deshaun Watson. Like if you haven't done it for a long time, I'm kind of like I just don't know if it's a range of outcomes anymore. But I think at worst case, you're getting a wide receiver, like back at wide receiver 2. You could still get a top 15 wide receiver. That would not shock me. But I'm just trying to take guys that are going to be the true difference makers in that range. So that's my whole issue with him. But I'm fine taking him at that range. Like depending on who you're taking him over. Like looking at ADP, like I don't know why Diggs goes above him. That makes no sense. It's DJ Moore, Michael Pittman, Devontae Smith, and those type of guys. So if you want to take a couple of those guys, I got no problem with it. Like that's totally fine with me.
All right,
Aaron,
who's next?
Aaron, I have a quick question for you. Where do you have the LA Rams defense ranked in your DST rankings? They've got to be toward the bottom of the league. I mean, they're going to give up a ton of points on defense. That's where I think Puka and Kupp have room to eat. Kyron, Corm, throw him in there. Who gives a crap? Anyone who's out there routinely is going to smash, and we know Stafford can get him the ball.
24th.
Oh boy,
I think that's generous.
Yes, it probably is. It probably is. Not gonna lie. So, all right, who you guys got next?
You want to go next one, Jeremy?
Guess it's me. Let's see.
That's the
I'm
enthusiasm
totally
we love to
this.
see.
We're so excited.
All right. I could really troll Aaron with Calvin Ridley. I'm not going to do it because I haven't drafted him anywhere.
You'll be kicked out
I
of
like
the
the
room.
idea of I like the idea of Lad McConkey, but I think he's probably a little safer than we're giving him credit for. Let's talk about George. Let's talk about George Pickens. I like George Pickens. I think he's kind of the only guy there. I think things could go south for him pretty quickly in an Arthur Smith offense where we saw, Kyle Pitts and Drake London totally nuked, in that offense the last year or two in Atlanta. The nice thing about the Pittsburgh situation is the quarterback room is much improved. I think if anyone can corral Arthur Smith and his ridiculous offensive tendencies, it's Mike Tomlin telling him to kind of like straighten up and stick to one scheme and figure out how to use his playmakers. We know they're going to be a run first team. They have two great running backs over there. We know they have Pat Freiermuth, but they literally have no one else. Roman Wilson, I think, is fine, but he's a rookie. He's not a top-tier wide receiver. George Pickens is an absolute monster. I don't know that he's going to give us the consistency that we want, but in the range that he's going, I don't want him as my wide receiver 1 or really my wide receiver 2. That's okay. But wide receiver 3, if you go heavy wide receiver early, I think that's kind of the ideal spot to take George Pickens. You get that high upside variance where he can win you any week. He's going to do it probably 40% of the time, just absolutely go off and have these monster games. What is that? Six games of the season. And he's going to win you the week. Now, you hope some of those games come at the end of the season, but if not, he can at least get you there. And George Pickens has the talent. He actually has a serviceable quarterback. And we know he can do it with Yak. We know he can do it with downfield. And who has been better, minus last year, who has been better in the NFL over the last decade at throwing the deep ball with accuracy than Russell Wilson? So, I love George Pickens kind of at value. The problem is when that value starts creeping up and up and up and up and up. Right now, I don't think it's there. But if I look at ECR, I'm probably going to find out he's wide receiver 14 or something, aren't I?
He's wide receiver 28.
He is wide receiver 26 on mine, but either way.
Yeah, the value is fantastic on Pickens. I don't mind it at all.
Where do you have him ranked?
Yeah, about the same, 28. But I do like that value for him because there's just it's probably too low, right? For example, I have Deontay above him. I have McLaurin above him. I have Zay Flowers. I don't like that above him. I have T. Higgins. He's a clear 2 above him. I don't love that. So I might need to consider moving him up 3-4 spots here. And, we've seen him do it. Look, they're going to run the football for sure. But when they pass the football, do we really believe that Pat Freiermuth is going to get 150 targets? It's not going to happen. Pickens is walking into an easy 150 targets. There's nobody else there.
150? Oh boy, you should have him way higher if these get 150.
Who else is earning targets there? That's my question.
I think they're going to be like one of the heaviest run teams in the NFL, if not the heaviest. I think he might be like 130. I think that's definitely within the range. I think 150 is a lot for any wide receiver, and I think we throw it around with like DeAndre Johnson. These guys. The thing about Pickens is his target share was still not that great, so it's probably going to elevate this year because I don't believe in Roman Wilson. I've never really believed in him, so I just think it's going to centralize him. The thing with Pickens is like he's super boom bust, so you have to live with that type of range of outcomes wide receiver. I don't think he's ever going to be the truly elite guy. Like he's not going to be a Justin Jefferson or one of those guys, but we've seen since he's gotten to the league, he's increased each year. So I think he can take a step forward, be good to your point with those deep threats. Check out the second half of the schedule. It's brutal who they face. Starting week 10, they get Baltimore, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Philadelphia, Baltimore, Cincinnati, Cleveland. So that is murderer's row down the stretch. You need him to be a stud. I think it's more likely happens in the first half. But to your point, like where he's going, like there's no, I don't really want another pass catcher besides Freiermuth. I just want Pickens, and I want to I think Freiermuth's a good bet in that range. Those are the two guys. Outside of that, I don't with the regression Russ had. And then there's the whole thing of Fields. That's the other thing. If Fields does start, it's going to destroy this offense. So I think he's more like one of these. He fits this build perfectly, the risky wide receivers. He could hit, and I think he has the range of outcomes to be a top 12 wide receiver, but he could be wide receiver 30 on the season. That wouldn't shock me. I think you'd have to bet on the talent of Pickens and live with the variance that he is because there's probably not a wide receiver with a wider range of outcomes than Pickens this season. But worst case, you get a good, like a high-end wide receiver 3. Best case, you get like a back end wide receiver 1. Dude, if you get him at that cost, that's the smash win. So I'm with you on Pickens. I actually have him at wide receiver 25. So I know I'm kind of shitting on him right now, but I like him. I just think of the wide receivers and where he's going, the variance is out of control. So I think he's the better and best ball, but I don't mind him I like him as getting him as your wide receiver 3. I think that you can live with that as a wide receiver 3. That's the perfect type of guy to get to try to take the upside. If you have 2 stud wide receivers, right? You get the guys early. You smash it with Pickens again, and then you're looking, you're like, he's your flex guy. You're like, I can live with that. So, that's a long-winded way of saying, I'm in at Pickens at cost. I like him. It's just there's a ton of variance with him. I don't know how to protect him, honestly.
I agree with everything, but you missed the most important part, the selling point on George Pickens. Who's gone?
Just Deontay.
No, not Deontay. Who's gone?
The quarterback?
No Matt Canada.
Mason. There you go.
Get ready for our
Jeremy. Who's your next one? We're gonna have to wrap it up with just your last one. I'm gonna have to skip my last one for the day. But who do you got here, Jeremy? We'll end it with you.
Jesse.
You want me to do
Jesse? Yeah, that's what I said.
Let's talk about DK Metcalf and the Seahawks wide receiver room because I think that one's pretty decisive. I'm 6 spots above with DK. I have him at wide receiver 14. I'm fine taking him in the late second, early third. What I want is the guys connected to Geno Smith. I think the offense is really good. There's improvements in this year. And we saw, it's similar to George Pickens, DK Metcalf. That's the same type of thing you're doing. I just think the offense is better. The quarterback's better. So I want the wide receiver 1 who I expect it to be. Now, I know we'll talk about JSN here. I think he's a good bet as well, too. I know Jeremy's been hyping him up all season. Those are the 2 guys I want, particularly similar to Houston. I wanted the expensive and cheap. It gets interesting with Lockett and JSN, but I just think DK is the one in that offense. And I know what I'm getting out of DK, and I'm fine living that. So kind of tell me where you guys stand on DK because we haven't talked a lot about DK. We've more talked about JSN. I'm in a DK at cost. I'm a few spots above him, so I will ride with him. Are you guys with me on that, or are you more against me?
I have him. I'm trying to look. Where is he? Where'd you say he was among wide receivers in ADP?
ADP, he is 1 second. He is wide receiver. That's my rankings. Jesus Christ. He is wide receiver. I cannot find him.
Oh, he's 19, and no, sorry, those are my rankings. Never mind.
Yeah,
I have him at 19.
Wide receiver 23. That's where he's at.
I have him at 19, so I'm slightly above.
Yeah.
I have him at wide receiver 12. DK Metcalf. I have him above Marvin Harrison Jr. this season. I think DK absolutely goes off I mean, the targets are going to be insane for him. I love JSN. I just don't know if JSN is going to put it together this year production-wise. I love him long-term. He might, but DK, I think, is locked in sure bet. He's a monster. He's going to get back to his double-digit touchdown ways. 12 touchdowns a season, I think, is guaranteed here. We don't love necessarily the running game. It's good. It's fine. But I think with Grubb in town, the new OC, the passing game is going to be out of control. DK Metcalf is a monster. Wide receiver 12.
I agree. I think they're one of the teams, the Seahawks, where everyone just seems lower on them. So I have quite a bit of DK. I'm not sure it's with all that much confidence. I certainly like them more than I like Lockett at this point in their career. JSN still hasn't done much. So, yep, I am in on DK.
Yep.
Yeah. Very cheap to stack, too.
Any final thoughts, or are we good to go? Because come hell or high water, I'm keeping this thing under 30 minutes for a fucking change. We say that every day and then go an hour and a half.
Well, listen, we all love DeAndre Hopkins. He's still proven that he can do it. Will Levis, we're not sure if he's the quarterback there. We like kind of the upgrades with what they're going to be able to do with a functional run game minus Derrick Henry. It's still functional there. So Calvin Ridley has a chance to knock it out the park this season. Double-digit touchdowns, 130 target Calvin Ridley, potential 100-catch season in the dynamic Titans offense.
You're a sick son of a bitch.
Aaron, who are you taking between Hopkins and Ridley? Are you in on the old man? Because they're both old.
Tyler Boyd.
Good God.
Bullet? Can I just take a bullet? No, Hopkins. Oh. Yeah. I thought at one point I thought Jeremy was just fucking with me here to name names to drag this over a half hour to piss me off. Then I realized he was trolling me with a Ridley take. I hate you. I'm ending this show. That's all for wide receivers that are risky that we're targeting. Fuck you, Jeremy. See you tomorrow.